Well, I guess it's time to get real for a bit. This is the worst batch of matches we've seen from FC Cincinnati in quite a while. FC Cincinnati, of course, fall to Miami 2-0. And if that was the headline a couple months ago or even a month and a half ago, I wouldn't think it'd be that big of a deal, I imagine. We were celebrating a 6-1 moment in time that ended up just being that a blip of joy and what has been a pretty big rough patch all of a sudden recently. And I have been reading what FC Cincinnati fans have been putting out there as well. And it seems like the fan base is torn on which way to lean. So tonight, let's just take a moment to review the situation. Leagues Cup is done and dusted. At the end of the day, I don't think that was a key prize, but one that we thought was attainable. As of this weekend, FC Cincinnati is very much on the outside, looking in on the Shield. It would be fair for some that have called this race off. So I think there's only one realistic trophy left for the taking, without a little bit of a Hail Mary. And that will be what I think 2024 gets judged on. You are listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I'm Boston Brazel, and I'm joined tonight by Brian Biedenbach, Bill Taylor, and Jason Ashcraft. We are going to dive into exactly what matters this fall, because I think we need to burn some dreams and get real about some things. FC Cincinnati has added a bit more talent to the player pool, including a fresh move off the presses tonight. Let's have a real discussion on if the club has enough, did enough, and can do enough to close out this season and get into the playoffs and see what happens. First up, we're going to bring in Brian Biedenbach, who will give us his best and worst on the week, but also just tell us how he's doing. How you doing, bud?
I'm tired tonight. It's been a long day and we just got off. I don't know how it's been in Cincinnati today, but it was a hot day here in Fort Wayne. And I'm just getting off the soccer field at our high school where I've been coaching. So it was a long evening. So I'm tired. I think the somber start to this really fits my mood tonight. So yeah, we if we're jumping into our best and worst, gosh, if I'm looking back, I know we're going to talk about Miami a little bit tonight and talk about some other things, but I was just glad when that final whistle blew that the game was over. Like it was hard to watch. The whole thing was from start to finish. And so my best is the game's over and it's done. Um, there's not a whole lot to pull out of that one for the best, but my worst is, and this is, I think we'll talk about this more too as we look about realistic expectations of our season and things, but sticking with this formation that we've kind of shifted to with the sword formation that worked against Miami the last time. I think was that the first time we probably saw the sword formation with Kubo
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it
Micho,
was.
and it worked with that personnel, and we've just seen it fail over and over and over since then without that same trio up top and the supporting cast coming out of the back on the wings. So just sticking with something when we've seen it fail over and over has been hard to watch. That's my worst tonight.
No, that's good. Yeah, sorry about the somberness. It's just we usually take a pretty optimistic approach, and I do want to be that way when there are things to be optimistic about, because I'm not the kind of person that says, "Oh, we lost 2 games in a row, the world's ending." That stuff happens. This is soccer; it happens. But we are looking at the first 3-game and now a 4-game, losing streak under Pat Noonan's era, and then we're going to the next game without 2 key players. So there's a reason to be somber, and we don't want to be the fanboys that always think everything's perfect. There are times the club is going to be going through a rough patch. That's why we got Jason Ashcraft on here tonight, because he's the realest person I know.
I try to keep it real, That's my motto in life, keeping it real.
Keep a hat that
let's
says
see.
that, Jason. I think we need to get you one.
Well, I hate to keep it somber though, but my best of the week was that it wasn't 4-0. This was one of those games where I hate to say it, like I was watching on my phone because my wife was watching a show and I didn't want to disturb her, so I was watching on my phone. And within that first 6 minutes, we're down 2-0. So I'm like, well, you know what I can do? I can play a video game and watch on my phone at the same time because this game does not deserve my full attention. And what happened was I could not pay attention to either like fully. I messed up at the game too. Yeah, that was my best. It wasn't 4-0 when it definitely could have been. My worst though. I'm one of the biggest like MLS defenders online. I love this league. It's the best soccer league we've had in the US. Warts and all, there are problems with it, but I really wish. I'm also a pro wrestling fan, and I know a work when I see one, and I really wish that MLS would adhere to its own rules and not make up special rules for Miami. And Luis Suarez should not have been in that game according to MLS rules, because he did not play in the All-Star game and there was not like an excuse for it. He should have been suspended for the next regular season match. And had that been Lucho, or had that been a guy from Columbus or a guy from Minnesota, they would have been suspended. But because it's the next most famous player on Miami after Messi, he gets to play, and he had a hand not only in both goals, but he was a little SOB all over the pitch the entire night. And the referees were just, it was like in a wrestling match when the heel is heeling it up and the referee is looking away. It makes this league a joke when they do stuff like that. And it makes it very hard to like defend the league to the absolute worst people online.
Glad you brought it up. I've seen that tossed around, especially right after the game. And I was so frustrated with our lack of offense, or our lack of chances, that part of me was like, does it matter? I kind of want to just ask you guys that. Does it matter? Would we have won the game without Suarez? Are we just frustrated because that's a thing? I get it. I get the league. We want to hold the league to a set standard, and we're trying to figure out why that wasn't enforced. But is that FC Cincinnati's problem that Suarez was on the field? Or do we have our own issues still?
I think we have our own issues, but a rule is a rule. Like, we played like crap. That's obvious. But Suarez was out there being a douche, and you can't, like, he affected the game, and he was not supposed to be out there. Like, both things can be true.
Yeah. The biggest, and I'll just put this out there because we already see some comments in chat about it. The official explanation I've seen given is that was a rule MLS had in Leagues Cup, but it is not in this year's rule book. And Laurel Failer did a little bit of homework for me. Appreciate it, because I did not want to go dig through the League Cup rules, and she said she cannot find it in the rule book this year. So it does seem like it was just like a what do they call that, a quiet change, or a little bit of a admin. If that is true and it's not in the rule book, then technically MLS did a little sneaky switcheroo, but that was before we knew it was going to be for Suarez. It could have been for anybody really at that point. That's the closest explanation I've seen. I have not done my own homework to verify whether it's true or not.
So what's the explanation there on the rule that because he sat out during a Leagues Cup match?
Yeah, there was so Leagues Cup, especially when it was new and put into place, MLS wanted to make sure that players didn't skip matches. And so they put in a rule that says if you skip any, or you miss any matches, even if it's for injury in Leagues Cup, you can't play the next season game that matters. So basically you get punished if you skip out on a Leagues Cup game. Suarez didn't play.
Gotcha.
So under the old rules, current rules, depending on who you ask, a lot of people don't think Suarez should have been playing in this game. And again, to Jason's point, it is on MLS regardless of whether it's a rule or not, because they didn't tell anybody about it. They didn't tell anybody about the change if they did make a change. There's a lot of confusion regardless.
Or was it Leagues Cup? He sat out the All-Star game was the situation though, right?
Yeah. Is it All-Star game rule? Yeah, it's one of those things. I can't remember can't remember the actual thing, but basically penalize you for not playing in one tournament, one game, and going into the next one. Messi technically would fall under that, I believe, right? So
Yeah,
he just-
except I
he
think
was
he's
still hurt.
injured. You have to
Yeah.
have like an excuse or something like that.
Yeah.
Either way, it's just shady how the league rules are suddenly changed when you only find out about it midway through the season, kind of like we didn't know about our playoff format until this time last year. So
Yeah.
Get it together.
It is the big. I think it's the big thing that MLS does have to take strides on going in the next couple of years. I didn't plan on talking about this, but I'm with you, Jason. Fans are a lot better off when they understand the salary cap, when they understand the rules, when they can sit there and make logical decisions and do math on their team. Or, I mean, you do not see NFL fans are really struggling with these concepts. Like I will say that's one league that's done a really good job. Whether it's for fantasy or whatever else, fans know most of the rules in that league, and they don't really bend or change all that much. And if they do, there is a big announcement every spring about the rule changes, and then they talk about it on TV ad nauseum for the next 3 months because they don't have anything else to talk about. So MLS could do a better job of that, saying like, these are the rule changes for this year. And then everybody in the media knows whether Suarez is supposed to start or not. There shouldn't be that much uncertainty going into a match. We did not know if he was going to start 6 hours, 12 hours before. And that's crazy. That's crazy. We didn't know if a rule applied. All right. Let's get Bill Taylor in. He looks like he's been waiting for us to shut up and introduce him for a while now. So,
hey man, I'm just, I'm the guy that's going to be positive, right? So I am going to try to put a little positive spin on the game in Miami. We got 2 new pieces to the puzzle. I mean, Awaziem in his second match, Gioacchini in his first match. From a coaching standpoint, I know what Pat Noonan's trying to do, right? We're trying to incorporate these new pieces. It's not going to happen after a week or 2 of practice. They're going to require more gameplay to really get these guys involved and up to speed. Now, with that said, I didn't mind the starting lineup. There were a lot of substitutions at halftime. I didn't disagree with those. Fresh set of legs coming in. But on the negative, and don't forget, guys, we still have 48 points, right? I mean, at this stage of the game, we're in third. While we may start to think that the Shield is unobtainable, I really think, obviously, the MLS Cup has to be the goal, and we have to be playing better once we hit the playoffs. So that's the good stuff. Now, the bad stuff is also from a coaching perspective, which I'm sure Brian can probably back me up on this. From a coaching perspective, you've got to be ready to start the game. You've got to be ready to finish the half. You've got to be ready to start the half, and you've got to be ready to finish the game. None of which FC looked prepared to do. I knew Noonan was not on the sideline. He was in the box. I'm sure he set the starting lineup, and I'm sure he set the substitutions at halftime. I'm sure his hand was in it. But Awaziem, especially in the back middle, 2 key mistakes led to 2 goals. It just seemed like we came out slow and soft, which is the polar opposite of the way it was when we played them here. We came out ready to go. They were flat. Down there, we were definitely flat. And then to go against 10 men for the majority of the match, and I see some of the comments, and for us not to put more shots on frame, goalkeeper had a great game. I'll give him that. But I still don't see us winning that match, but I certainly thought we should have at least put 1 in the back of the net. I feel a lot better about 2-1 than 2-0. I know it's only 1 goal, but I don't like the clean sheet for the other side. So there's the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to the play out there. And as far as Acosta and Yedlin go, I mean, that's the other part of the ugly. Now we come home. We got Montreal.
I think we lost Bill.
Yeah, Bill, your mic went out there, buddy. But I know what he's saying. I think the real reason we're also still somber right now is because we know what the next game is, and we know we're missing our star player, and it's kind of like I don't want to write off that game. I really, really, really don't, because we haven't played it, and technically we're not playing another Miami, we're not playing a Columbus, we're not playing an LAFC. We are playing a beatable team, but just. I mean, I don't know if you feel this on the other end of this microphone, everybody out there. I just feel a little discouraged and beat down. So we need Bill's mic to come back so that he can cheer us back up. So, no, appreciate you guys for joining me tonight. Cincinnati Soccer Talk, as it has been all year through good times and bad, is supported by Apollo Home and Beyond Exercise. But Apollo Home has been in the top half of our show sponsor, and if you have an HVAC, plumbing, or electrical need, reach out to them. They've been serving the greater Cincinnati and southern Dayton areas for 110 years, and they would love for you to call them if you need anything. Tell them CST sent you. We'd appreciate that. All right. Jason, you said that we went down 2-0, and you had the thought, like, should I give up on this? Should I watch something or should I do something else? I've been there. I had the thought myself. I remember, though, the 2 or 3 times this year that I felt like that, and then Lucho turned the game around. So I couldn't shut the game off because it's already happened. It's 2024. FC Cincinnati can still somehow win a 2-0, being down 2-0. That spark, though, he did, the Lucho spark happened. He came in the match. Miami's down a player. The stage was set for the comeback. Why didn't it happen?
I think that's what makes it so frustrating. So I know Rupesh mentioned, like, we outshot them 3-1. It was something like I've got it right here, 16 shots to 5. And in the second half alone, we had 10 shots to their 1. I mean, how do you play against a team that is a man down? You bring in a guy who is maybe has a case for league MVP, and you can't get it done. Like, you just can't put even a lucky one that bounces off of someone in the back of the net. I think that's what frustrated me the most about this entire match, was like, I kind of had that feeling too, like, oh, we're up a man, Lucho's coming on, maybe we're going to get back into it. And then nothing happened.
Mm-hmm. I thought after Leagues Cup, Brian, that Lucho would be healthy enough to rock it out. Are you just devastated that's not the case?
I was hopeful, man. I was with you. I'm hopeful that he's back and is healthy, but he did not look himself in that match. He wasn't moving. He wasn't. Now, granted, I don't know that he had the team around him that he's had starting the match. But no, he didn't look healthy. And I know he's out next week. Did I hear he might be out a couple more weeks nursing this injury? Is there any truth to that rumor? I don't even remember where I saw that, but so don't quote me on that. I don't want to start that rumor, but heard that he might, because of his injury, it might be a little bit longer till we see him starting and playing a full 90 again. So I do think that adds to my frustration, my I don't know, my sense of not hopelessness, but a little less hope for the Shield, a little less hope for the Cup, because it wasn't just the Cincinnati game this weekend. It was watching the Columbus match. It was watching other MLS games, other League Cup games, and seeing players producing when we have nobody that's producing at that level. It goes back to what we talked about last week. Did we miss something in this window that maybe could have given us the spark that we're seeing other teams come alive with? That it's just hard seeing where we're at, what we're missing, and seeing other teams who have picked that person up. And it's going to be hard I think we're going to be chasing the whole time. If we have a chance, we're chasing from here on out. And I don't know if we have the personnel to do it.
Yeah. Rupesh just mentioned a good point. He said Justin Player put out a stat during I think recently that FC Cincinnati has been up a man 172 minutes in the last 2 years and only scored 1 goal. We're not that team. We're not that team that that gets through that shell. If we are, it's Lucho that does it, and he's not himself, as you said.
Mhm.
So figuring that out. If Lucho does have an injury, I guess a little poll between you guys. Are you changing strategy now? If the only thing that matters is playoffs and doing the best you can, getting the new players ready, getting the players you want healthy, then are you sitting Lucho from here henceforth until he's back and fully capable?
Let's see if we got Bill back. Maybe he's got. No, sorry, man. Man, that's a tough question. If he can't go 100%, I'm not saying totally shut him down for the season or shut him down and hope for the playoffs. Because I mean, I don't think we're close to clinching yet. Maybe a 1 or 2 wins, we will. Oh, that's really tough. I say maybe force him to limit his minutes. Tell him, hey, you might only be playing 45 minutes until we get to the playoffs, because he is so beat up right now.
I think we pick our moments, right? Maybe he does. He's on the bench if we need him. That's a last resort. I don't think we start him. I think give him some time to recoup. But let's be honest, we've seen an 80% Lucho still dominate a game, which concerns me that we're not seeing even an 80% Lucho out there against Miami with the man down. So I don't know what the reports are on his injury, but if he's not even producing like he was at 80%, it concerns me. I think maybe he needs more time to sit and we bring him in closer to playoffs, get his legs back under him before the playoff starts.
Yeah, I did like. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, right now, I think we're going to punt on the Shield. I think that's maybe a little out of reach, but we're only 8 points out.
Mhm.
So I don't see Miami nosediving, but I mean, they could. It's MLS. And we have a few good weeks, and then we're right back in the hunt. I think, but we've also lost, 5 of our last 8? That includes Leagues Cup. So,
and almost as many players for the season.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem
try
with
to
the
keep
Shield
within the home field advantage, I think, has got to be your goal the rest of the way out.
Because that's doable, and that's Eastern Conference. The problem with the Shield is that you've now got the Galaxy that's passed you up on the Western side. So it's not a Miami race. It's an LAFC's ahead, Galaxy's ahead.
That's the simulation out there out west.
Yeah. So. You've got Miami ahead, and then the Crew don't look like they're going to really give up those games in hand. You know? They're the hottest freaking team going into this thing. That's the problem. That is at its core. At its core, what is the real problem that FC Cincinnati sees? It's that the hot teams are getting hot and hotter.
And just picked up pieces that we needed, right? LAFC just picked up Giroud, and Galaxy just picked up Marco Reus. Picking up players that obviously we didn't have. I don't think we had a shot at either one of those, but we missed the mark on that. They were hot before those players got there, and they're only getting better.
And the playoffs are not a who is the best team a tournament. We know that FC Cincinnati by far was the best team last season, and they did not win MLS Cup. Why? Because the playoffs are just a who is the best team in this moment. And if we're going to have a realistic conversation, FC Cincinnati needs to figure out how to be the best dang team come playoffs, come this fall. And that's where I think they have to be shooting for. They got to get Lucho good and healthy and not rusty. So that means you can't sit him the whole time. You got to have your new center backs working with Roman in the squad. You have to figure out a way to get Orashano as creative as he used to be. Kubo is sharper than he has been. And then, of course, the biggest problem that I think we haven't talked about here yet, where on earth is Kevin Kelsey? Nico, Kubo as forward. What happened to the productivity we had?
So much of that productivity came off the foot of Lucho Acosta, right? Him producing just underneath there. And, I've said it, I don't know how many times on the show, is Kelsey is a player that is a big body. He's good in the air. He seems to be good in the air. He was initially. That's when we saw him producing, right? He's shown that he can hold up play. He's a good, strong forward. He can hold up play when we need him to, but it's not the style we've been playing recently. Right. And so I feel like we've thrown him out there kind of to the wolves without a second striker to play off of, without balls being sent in the box for him to get underneath and get on top of. I don't think we've seen the best from Kevin Kelsey because we're not giving him the opportunity that maybe he needs, which concerns me for a young striker. Like, are we setting him up for success, or are we trying to slot him into a position that he's not built for? We're not playing to his strengths right now, I don't think. So I think that's part of the problem with Kevin Kelsey. I think he's disappeared because we've stuck him in a position that we've not set him up to succeed. I think he's still trying to figure this whole thing out as a young player.
Yeah, he played better when we were playing two up top. And you would hope that with Gioacchini coming in, that maybe we switch back to that formation, because to be honest, that's when we were playing a little bit better. Than we had that one really good game in the sword formation, as people are calling it. And it seems like Noonan wanted to stick with that. But ever since then, I don't think we've scored more than 2 goals a game with that. So maybe go back to what brought you earlier in the season, and hopefully give Kelsey an opportunity to shine.
I see the comment. Nico is here for a week, expecting him to come in guns blazing is ridiculous. I 100% agree. I'm not trying to throw the loss or FC Cincinnati's problems at Nico's feet. I'm just saying that the club has to figure out a way to make him work with. It's got to be Kelsey. He's your money, and get to the playoffs and get something going. I don't know if you start sitting Kelsey, who your other option is. I think we've proven Baird's not it. I think we've proven Santos isn't it, outside of a rare spark. So I think you're stuck with these guys. Kubo had a moment, but that's not who I feel confident sitting up there for the rest of the year. So, I mean, we're back to this, except this time there's nothing else coming. We've had this conversation before, but it was the summer window. You guys already beat this to death last week, so we're not going to launch into it again, but we can say the summer window's over. This is the team. We might get another free agent like we got tonight. But let's just pretend that our center back situation is solved. Like, this is still a major issue. Bill, you with us?
Am I with you guys? Am I back?
Yeah, there we got you.
Yeah, my tech works. All right, fantastic. I will tell you that from my perspective, Boston, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's the starting 11. I think it's got to be a consistent starting 11, and they need minutes to play together. That's what I'm building for right now, because I'm looking at the playoffs, maybe an MLS Cup run. Yeah, it definitely hasn't looked like it the last 3 weeks, but I think those guys just have to learn to play together. And I totally agree. It's going to have to be 2 guys up front. So I can't remember who said that. The one guy up front's just not going to work for this club. And I think Awaziem, he just needs to understand that the MLS is a different league and it plays differently. It's a little faster in the defensive third when they're attacking. And there's going to be some overlapping runs. And he's just got to learn to kind of play, adapt, and learn to play with his other defenders. And so I'm hoping, that all is not lost with Kelsey. He has not played well his last couple of outings when he saw minutes. So I'm just hoping that the guys that need to get minutes get those minutes during play and that they excel. like I said, I don't know if you guys have looked forward in the schedule through September. We've only got 1 week from now until the end of September where we have 2 matches, where we have a Wednesday, Saturday. In my opinion, that's a favorable setup. It lets our guys get healthy. It lets them get a lot of practice. And hopefully we see the result. So my big question is, let's talk something a little more immediate. What does the match look like to you guys on Saturday?
That's tough because we're missing two
starters.
starters. Montreal just got throttled in their last match. It was like 5-0, I think, to New England. They're not a good team, but we've not played great against bad teams this year. So.
Could go a long way though for a confidence building game.
It could, and I think hopefully is our new guy Teenage. I'm going to let Boston try to pronounce our teenage dream. Is he going to get here?
Is it Tanegi?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
Maybe.
Yeah,
with the first name.
It said he played for Houston, and I follow this league pretty well. I don't remember the guy at all.
No, I don't remember him either.
Yeah,
I will say
hopefully he gets in soon.
Yeah, I watched some just to get familiar with him. I watched some of his highlights here, and he, based on the highlights I saw, might be our best attacking player on the pitch if he plays. Everything as a center back, every highlight I saw was him scoring a goal. Like he's up in the air, almost biking the ball in. He's scoring with his head. He's sending cross. Like he looks like an attacking threat as a center back. So maybe that means we'll score some goals. Maybe it means he gets too high up the pitch and we get exposed even more. Who knows?
That is the case though. When we get at center back, I've seen that a lot. The highlight reels are them scoring, and you're like, that doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, it's always nice when it happens, but it's not. You didn't sign him for that.
Right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. All right. Before we get a little further, I always miss the second half sponsor right at 9:30, so I'm trying to do my best to stay on track today. But I do want to give a shout out to Beyond Exercise, our local physical therapy fitness business that helps people stay active and injury free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS Next, and now FC Cincinnati Academy players with their health performance needs. Check out their suite of services on gobeyondexercise.com, and I thank you for sponsoring us as well. Sorry, Brian, dive right into are you still in the center back discussion?
No, I was going to address kind of the what we see up top there in the sword formation and then flipping it with the two up top. So I'm hoping, Bill, you asked about this next week. I'm hoping maybe we see Nico up top with Kelsey. And man, without Lucho, I think you have to play probably Kubo at that number 10, but without Yedlin, Kubo is probably going to slot back to the right back position potentially, unless I don't know what's going on with Powell. Maybe he's back. I don't know that we have another number 10 unless we put Luka in there. But I think the thing that we saw with the sword formation that worked, it wasn't really that we had a lone striker with two players underneath. Those three played so fluidly together. It was that we had three strikers or three midfielders. Really, they played so fluid. And again, I think the rest of the personnel that we have, I don't think play that way. So we have to go back to the two up top. I think with the personnel that we have at least until Lucho gets healthy and is back. So you asked Bill about Montreal. Man, I'd love to see what Nico can do up top with a second striker. We heard that last week from the guy from St. Louis, the podcast, whatever, the flyover or whatever we call it.
Footy?
Yes. Yeah. Flyover footy talked about him working as a two striker system, and that plays to his strengths. I think it plays to Kelsey's strengths too. So maybe we invert the top of that spear and see what happens this week against Montreal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. And thanks, Bill, for asking that. It's a solid question. Looking forward to this weekend. This weekend, we probably can feel a little bit better this weekend if we play our cards right, even without Lucho Costa. And then maybe next week you'll listen to the show and you'll hear us have a little bit more fight as we look forward into the playoffs. By the way, my official Boston pronunciation, which I think is pretty close to being correct. I think Jason's correct. It's Teenage Hadebe. Hadebe is how I would say it, and how I heard it in the Houston video. So I cheated a little bit, but that is the Houston pronunciation of our new center back. So if you're out there wondering, like I was, oh crap! As soon as I saw him, I said, "Why is it never John Smith?" And,
he is. I think he's going to be a good addition. Being familiar with the league is a huge plus. The fact that he was like starting for Houston is a plus, and hopefully, I think that's been one of our problems since Miazga went down. Is we don't have a solid core of center backs. We had Robinson, who was a good center back. Now we've got Cheeto in. Now we got Teenage in, and I think that's how he pronounces his name. I don't know. But we've got them in, and I think that's been part of the problem. When you're throwing out Kip Keller, you're throwing out Ian Murphy. Those guys are decent guys, but I don't think they're day-to-day starters for this team. Yeah. And yeah, that should help, I would hope.
After today, are you feeling better about the center back situation? You know, is the current squad of guys going to hold up to Suarez next time?
I feel better about it, having another depth piece there. I don't know that I feel solid about it. I feel like we're doing our best right now to stack that line just to hold players off. Like we got Gioacchini. I don't want to say we didn't do anything up front, but it's like I feel like we're bringing in defenders just to hold the score lower because we don't have the attacking prowess right now up top. So, I think if I can for a second go back to who's going to be that number 10, maybe it's Kubo. I saw in the chat somebody suggested Dotto, and I do think that is a good option if Kubo has to slot out. We've seen Dotto grow this season. I don't know if he's the guy yet, but I think he's the guy that could get some passes through with two new players in front of him that don't have connection with Lucho. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, like you got chemistry with Lucho Acosta and Lucho's on the bench. Who's going to get in the ball? Maybe Dotto's the guy that can work with those two, at least for now, and build some chemistry. It'll take a couple games probably. But he's starting with two new strikers starting from scratch. Let's see what he can do.
I want so bad for Dotto to be the guy. I really do. But it just seems like when he shoots, he's always off target, or he's shooting at the wrong time, or I mean, maybe it's just he needs another year or two, and that probably is the case. It's just I want to push him faster than he's going, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to be the guy to score, though. I mean, he needs to be. Scoring would be great, but if he can be the guy to distribute the ball well, that would go a long way to helping him, be a solid starter for this team.
Clifford Adams says Dotto needs 10 to 15 more pounds.
I don't know about that. It's soccer, man. The best player in the world right now, or to ever play is Messi, and he's like 5'4" and maybe weighs 150 pounds soaking wet. So
yeah. Yeah, if you put weight on, the dives don't look as good.
Yeah,
right. Dotto's getting really good at flopping, taking hard hits, but making them look worse than they are. He put some weight on. That's not gonna work for him.
I can tell you, as being someone who's carrying more than I really should, it wears out your knees and ankles a lot quicker when you got too much on you.
Jose's asking what we need in the winter window. Dude, if we start talking about that already, we won't have a show this fall. I'm also not that pessimistic. I may sound pessimistic tonight, but I'm not that pessimistic. I'm not ready to give up a fight because the MLS playoffs can just be that strange and that weird. And I don't think FC Cincinnati's a bad team. I just don't feel confident that they are the team like I did last year. I don't think that they're marching in to the postseason as the strongest or one of the top 2-3 strongest. I think they're down in that 4 to 5 range right now, and in danger of falling to 6 or 7 if they don't put something together here. And the team has changed a lot, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a good reset week, I think, for everybody involved, because then you've got, I'm reading the schedule right, you do have a week off, and then you've got Hell is Real. So this would be a good week to get your mind right, get everything in order, because, the following week is the hottest team in the league is coming to town, and you don't want to look bad against them.
Any comments about that League Cup final, guys? Did you guys have the opportunity to watch that game?
I refuse to watch finals with Columbus in them.
That was, dude. That was
who was in that match?
Yeah, I mean, I look at them, and then I look at the game against Miami, and I mean, right now we're not on the same level as either one of those teams. We knew they were going to be teams to watch this year, but there's no way we couldn't have played with either one of those teams on that night. Not where we are currently.
Cucho Hernandez scares the crap out of me, especially with not a piece together back line, but a brand new back line. Cucho Hernandez scares the crap out of me. The guy moves well, he passes well, he gets in spaces that you just don't see him coming. Yeah, so that scares me a little bit looking ahead that far. Let's take it a week at a time and see what we can build. And and let's see if we can get some offensive. Let's see if we can pose a threat offensively, because I don't know that we're holding Cucho back right now at this time. Boston, you mentioned we have a whole new team, right? A lot of changes to this team just a second ago. It is strange to think at the beginning of the season we were saying the same thing. Like, there's so many changes. We lost so many players. What's our starting lineup going to look like? Who are we bringing in? And we're having those same conversations now, just past halfway in the season. We've got a whole new team. Like, none of the guys, about half the team that was starting at the beginning of the season is not starting, at least currently, due to injury or yellow card suspension. We've got 2 new center backs. Guys aren't playing at the level that they were. It is strange to think how much turnover we've seen in this team this year, when we came out questioning if we were going to be as good as we were last year. And about a month or month and a half in, we're better than we were last year, to now going, is there any hope for the playoffs at this point?
Yeah. And I might feel a lot better when the chemistry gels a few more things in this fall. I really don't think it's hopeless. I think the center back situation is probably overkill, fixed / added onto, and now it's a matter of getting those guys MLS adjusted or FC Cincinnati adjusted with Roman Celentano. Whatever the issue is there, I think it can be solidified. I don't know if you guys agree with me there, but I think that can be fixed, and that's an easier fix. Getting someone, it just takes one to relieve the pressure off Lucho Acosta, someone that decides they're going to take that ownership of that front five, and if opposing teams have to worry about Orishano Acosta and a third player, then we're back. We're back, boys, because they can't defend it all. And right now, if your goal is just to shut down Lucho Acosta and no one else comes calling and answering, then you can do it. And I think there's plenty of teams that have proved they can do it. But you guys just talked about Columbus. We beat them, and we shut down Hernandez. We have to get back to that FC Cincinnati if we want. And that's what gives me a little bit of hope. That one game that I attended against the Crew, I know they're beatable. It's just a matter of, is FC Cincinnati going to get there? Do they have enough pieces to get there to get the job done? And I think it's fair if you're a pessimist and you say, no, not without Miazga, not without Miles and Miazga combination. You have a point. But
I mean, I'm looking at the lineup from when we played at Columbus, and assuming like things are about the same. Really, the only starter we're missing 2 starters from that match, and that's Matt Miazga and Alvis Powell. And that's a team that really, they beat Columbus, and it never really looked close. And your subs were Kelsey, Valenzuela, and Malik Pinto. So you didn't have DeAndre Yedlin out there. You didn't have, I don't think Miles Robinson played, but now we've got Miazga's a big hole to fill, but he's filled. I mean, we've got extra duct tape on the back line now. So hopefully it'll hold together. I think one of the things is that we were very spoiled last year. And like there was a point last year where we were a game or two away from setting the all-time wins record. And then this year there was a point where we were like a game or two away from setting the all-time like road wins or something like that.
Yep.
We've been incredibly spoiled. So we're not used to a run of bad form, except the only time we know what that feels like was back in the bad old days of the wooden spoon era. And I think that for a lot of us, there's like PTSD from that. And you're like, oh no, I remember what this feels like to play poorly. I don't want to go back to that. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is it's MLS, and this isn't like Brentford going to play Manchester City, right? Like, and teams are beatable.
Yeah. Well, and there is plenty of time for us to kind of put the pieces back together. So I do
Right.
like that point. And, the MLS is all about peaks and valleys. It always has been. You see teams ascend, and then you see them hit a rough patch. Could be due to injury, could be due to suspension. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. You're not going to win every game, right? You're not going to win every game in a season. You're not going to go undefeated. It's just not going to happen. You don't have that consistency over the long haul. I mean, as long as we rebuild, we focus on what needs to be done on the field. We put the thing let's drop back to the negative real quick. Sorry, Boston. The passion. I just want to see a passionate 90 minutes. And I definitely did not see a passionate 90 minutes down in Miami. I just want to see play from, second one to the final whistle. So that's when I want to see that's what I want to see out of this team. Is the wanting to be there, wanting to play hard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're exhausted at halftime. Maybe then you take a sub. The 75 minutes, I'm okay with that as long as it's a fantastic up and down the field 75 minutes. That's why we have substitutions available, not to change the whole outcome of a match. So there's plenty of time for us to get it back on track and make a really good run into the postseason. I'm confident that we will get there.
Boston, I think the difference too in that Columbus match, the last one, was we were riding high, right? We had a spark, we had a passion, like Bill was saying, that I think it seems to be lacking. Team morale looks to be down a little bit. Just the eye test. I don't know what goes on in the locker room. I don't know what goes on in the practice pitch, but without Lucho out there leading the way, maybe it's because of his injury. He doesn't have the energy. Maybe it's just his absence out there. I don't know. And a team that depends on one player, not just for play on the field, but for team morale is difficult when you lose him. So that's the thing that scares me a little bit, though, is the lack of passion, the lack of chemistry that we're seeing, and the lack of spark, really, that I'm seeing more in other teams that we're going to face coming up. Like, I see that spark, I see it clicking because I've allowed myself to watch other matches this weekend. I think that's what scares me the most, is maybe I should just not watch other teams, just focus on Cincinnati and try and figure out their issues and not compare them. But I'm seeing a spark in other teams that we seem to have lost this late in the season. Hopefully we can regain it. But yeah.
I think so. And keep in mind, the last match we lost, it was Leagues Cup at home versus Philadelphia Union, and it's the lowest attendance crowd I've seen all year. So even if you're the players and you're used to 20,000+ screaming fans, and then you go into that match versus Philly and 11 show up, or are sitting in the seats, and it's just kind of, I mean, I'll be honest, TQL Stadium was kind of meh. Even the prior game. The prior two games were way bigger in Leagues Cup. That was one I think everybody had to pay out of pocket, and it was a midweek game, and it wasn't there. I get it. It was for first night of school night or something. Somebody told me. I don't have kids, but I heard it was like the first night kids going back to school, and so it fell on a really bad week. And getting the players back home versus A more crummy team might just be what we need to spark things back up again. And yeah, you have to have if you don't have confidence going into the playoffs, then I don't care how good of a team you are. I think you're very beatable in this league.
Yeah.
The players have to really believe in themselves that they can do anything. And you see, I can't even go into how many years in Major League Soccer you've seen the hot team win the cup. It's over and over and over again. And that's what FC Cincinnati has to figure out how to be. And if they start banging in goals from 3 different players, I think that's where they get it back.
Yeah,
that's all.
So I'm seeing this name a lot in the comments, so I'll just ask it. Is Brett Halsey the answer?
He's got spark. If that's what you guys want, he will fight. He will have spark. I don't think talent-wise he's there yet. He's young, but he does fight and he has spark and he brings something in sometimes. I wouldn't start him. But if that's what you need, is you need somebody with some power. I mean, Assad all day, if we can get him back. Getting Assad back, getting Acosta healthy, getting Orishano rest if he needs it, and then making the big push. That's enough for me. I'm not as down on the center back mistakes. I think you have everybody who's beaten up on the poor guy this week and last week, and I get it, but he's new. He's newish to FC Cincinnati and the teams that are pressing us all of a sudden. So
he also got totally run over. Cheeto in that first goal just got lit up from behind, and I was surprised they didn't call that. So mistake or not, the dude got laid out. And
I'd rather it happen now than later. Yeah. I think he's got the confidence to do the job. He's not gonna be shaken.
And we've seen. I don't think in his first 2 games he missed a pass. Like, the dude can put a ball on point even from distance. He put the one to Kubo that Kubo turned and scored a few matches ago. I think it was his second match. So Cheeto, I have confidence in him. Maybe with another guy next to him, we'll see what happens. But I think our back line is shored up as much as it's going to get. I don't think that's our issue anymore.
Right.
You guys ready just for a temporary safety measure to go to a 4 back line? I saw that thrown out here. Now that you've got all these extra center backs, you could theoretically do a Murphy, Robinson, and then
Cheeto and the new
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
There was a time FC Cincinnati played very defensive and then just tried to pick up that one goal. I'm not against doing that again.
That's what
we've already radically changed our formation once this year. Let's do it again. Just try it.
It might hurt your brain, but there was a time.
That's the thing, though, Jason. I think we changed the formation to fit the personnel that we have.
Yeah, we do.
Back line, and maybe now's the time, because we don't have that personnel out there running together. We change something and maybe get that spark back.
Yeah.
I think we do have the personnel for it. I mean, if you give the other team the ball, you're the one playing defensive, and then you have Orishano, Acosta, and whoever, Santos or whoever, playing counterattack soccer. We could be that team.
Well, our transition has been lacking. I don't know. You can go either way, but the last few weeks we have shown that our transitional game is an issue.
Yeah.
And we need to work on that. A 4-4-2, I saw it in the comments. A 4-4-2 does solve some of that, because it takes away those long transitions where we miss out on speed. And Orishano, it seems like he's just a step slower than I saw him a month ago. And you guys, any thoughts on that?
I mean, maybe it's just the length of the MLS season is starting to wear on him, because he's playing most of the minutes.
He's played a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Plus, he's probably getting the crap kicked out of his ankles too, just like Lucho. So
he's the only one I'm worried about that I think, he's the one I would kind of wish would get suspended for a week, because I think he could use it.
Yeah.
I guess everybody did just get a couple weeks off, right? Because we fell to Leagues Cup early. So
yeah.
Hopefully everybody's feeling a little bit better. Yeah. All right, so we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Teenage Hadebe, left foot center back, former DP of Houston Dynamo. The reason I wanted to bring it up is we've had some some puzzled looks amongst ourselves, and I think people that look at salary cap budgets are asking themselves, why on earth would FC Cincinnati possibly sign another high salary player in the back line? You're looking at Miazga, Robinson, now Hadebe, all with about $1 million salary. If he makes what he made last year, he had a $1.2 million salary last year, but he is a free agent. Maybe he had less options. Maybe he took what he can take. If it just was a pickup for this season, it makes sense. But no, there's he signed next year, so you're gonna have to pay the full salary next year, and then FC Cincinnati have an option the year after that. So somebody's going, right? I mean, you're not going to have all this money sitting on the back line taking up roster. It's really roster heavy money. That's the reason it's not going to work. Miles Robinson, Miazga, somebody won't be here in 2025.
Robinson's contract is up at the end of this season. He was only a 1-year guy. I think the rumor, the scuttlebutt was when he signed that this was just sort of a stopover for him, hoping to go to Europe. So I would imagine that he's going to try to do that, especially when you have a new U.S. men's national team coach who is a European guy. I mean, he's Argentinian, but he's coached a lot in Europe, and he's probably going to want the players to be based over there as much as possible.
Yeah. And who knows, coming back from an injury like Miazga's, what is he going to be next year? We hope he's the same as he was prior to injury, but you never know. And losing Hagelin too, so we've lost 2 center backs. And again, with Robinson likely going next year, I think it's a good pickup to shore up that back line for another season.
Yeah. I live for the day, though.
I'm not bashing the pickup. Just so you guys know, I'm questioning the
salary.
Yeah, the plan. The pickup made me raise my eyebrows only because it won't work next year unless you make room.
Mm-hmm.
I live for the day, though, when MLS moves past this. Oh no, we're paying $750,000 for this guy. How is that going to affect the budget? Like people don't make those comments about the NBA and the NFL and stuff, but because we have such a cheap league, and I know Boston loves a good spreadsheet, so
that's fair.
I live for the day when we move past all of that.
Yeah. I'm just prepped for a little bit of a different team in 2025. Maybe that's a good thing, but I think I see financial decisions being made that kind of clearly spell out that certain things won't be able to work next year. That is different to me than last year. Last year we only lost players because we sold them or we had to. That they wanted to move on to bigger and better things. So I think this offseason, regardless of what we win, we're going to have cap moves made. That's a little bit different. It'll be fun to talk about later. When we have nothing else to talk about. But all right. So anything else you 3 have on things that you definitely believe need improved in the next month? Because I want everybody listening to this podcast to really pinpoint 1 or 2 issues that, if these things are fixed, we are fine as we go into the playoffs. We could theoretically beat the Crew in Miami, LAFC on any given week if ...
So I'll go ahead and chime in first on that, on kind of a final thoughts type thing. We have to go and establish, I want to see the same lineup. I want to see the same formation, and I want to see us give it time to work. I mean, this is our chance to kind of experiment with that sort of item. Let's see if a 4-4-2 works. Let's see if a 4-3-3 works. Whatever we're going to do, let's go with it. Let's stick with it. Let's give the starting 11 a chance to prove they can. And if they can't, then you move one little piece, not changing a whole line out. That's just my thought. I just want to see some consistency, and I want to see the guys that want to play be out there on the pitch.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
A healthy Lucho changes a lot. A healthy Lucho Acosta changes a lot of things. So I think we need to give him time to get healthy. And piece together whatever we need to do in that central midfield, whether it's Dado or Kubo or a combo of the two, and throw Luca in there for a game or two. I don't know. A healthy Lucho changes the game a lot. I think as far as formation goes, maybe I haven't seen Pat Noonan be stubborn about a formation before. We've seen him flip this year. But in the years that we dealt with the 4-3-3 and we were just stubborn and we were going to stick with that no matter what, that was hard because we didn't have the personnel to play it, and we just had to endure it over and over and over and see it not work over and over and over. And so I don't put it past Pat Noonan to change formation if he sees it necessary. I trust what he's doing. But I think, again, whether we change formation or not, a healthy Lucho changes a lot of things. So going into the playoffs, we got to do what we got to do to get him back to 80%. I'll take 85%, even better. 100% would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I think everybody's covered it. I mean, what I want to see, what could be improved, I think, all of our attitude. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it's PTSD from before, but we're still like in a good spot to have home field advantage through most of the playoffs. We win one or two matches coming up, we clinch at the playoff spot pretty much. And it may not be, I think we went into the season thinking, we were going to be a lot better than what we are, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen the other teams being as good as they are this year. And so like, just enjoy the ride. We got some really winnable games coming up. And if everybody's healthy, Nashville's coming up, Orlando, like we've got some really winnable matches.
And some fun ones.
I just saw Justin's comment.
Let's hope they're fun. Yes, let's hope they're fun.
Yeah. So much I want to say, Justin.
Still got Hell is Real, man. We're gonna have to pull out all the stops for that one as fans.
Yeah.
Oh, JoJo.
Who's he razzing about Stanko and JoJo? That's a throwback right there.
Oh yeah. JoJo could beat anybody, and then he'd dribble over the end line.
Yeah. Obviously, Chris Albright had bigger and better things he wanted this last window. It didn't happen. I think fans are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for one window, but they're going to expect a lot now this winter, right? Especially if FC Cincinnati. Honestly, I think if FC Cincinnati wins the cup, I think fans will still realize that the team needs to improve and be built around some key players a little bit better moving forward. So it's going to be an interesting battle to watch. I think win a couple key matches. I would love to see him win this weekend, get some confidence. If you win Hell is Real, oh my goodness, I think FC Cincinnati will be roaring back the club, the fans, and you'll see a confidence boost unlike any other as we go in. And that's what you really want going into the postseason. So that would be great. Obviously, we're going to need a few things on the field to start clicking for that to happen. And I'm not willing to sign off and write the season off yet. Cancel the podcast early for the rest of the year. It's not happening. I'm a believer. Lucho Costa's made me a believer of FC Cincinnati. Any week is possible, and anything can happen. And then you still have some real talent on this team. And if they can put it back together, we're good, guys. We're good. So I know we were down, but we're going to put ourselves back together, and we're going to have a fun show next week, right? Right?
Yes. Is that the answer you're looking for?
Yes.
Hey, I'm in this with all of you that are listening. We'll talk ourselves through it. We are happy when we win. We're sad when we lose, and it's all because we care, and we all care a lot. I've never seen a more passionate bunch than FC Cincinnati fans. They're ready to die on the sword after a loss because it hurts so bad, but it's because you care so much. So cool group of fans. Build the hope back up, and let's not fall apart on ourselves, I guess. We'll see you next week, and we look forward to it.